Welcome to the Farpoint Station. This video segment provides an introduction to our SharePoint web part, Spread for SharePoint. Spread for SharePoint is a WSS 3.0 web part. By adding Spread for SharePoint to your pages, you can provide complete read-write binding to SharePoint lists and SQL data tables. Spread for SharePoint does not rely on any SharePoint services, and there are no requirements for MOS or any other Microsoft Office licenses on the server or the clients. I believe the statement says enough about the cost benefits of using Spread for SharePoint. After downloading the Spread for SharePoint setup, you need to go to your SharePoint server and run it. Before the setup starts doing real work, it verifies that Windows SharePoint Services is installed, the current user ID has the necessary permissions, that the appropriate SharePoint services are started, and finally, that we didn't mess up something with the setup or the setup did not become corrupted during download. Be sure to read the license agreement. To install the 60-day trial of the product, do not enter a product key or serial number on this page. When you purchase the product, all you need to do is run this installation again and enter these values. Specify the path of where to install the assemblies, documentation, and samples. Then select the web applications where you want to deploy the web part. The files are copied to your server. The Spread for SharePoint solution is added to the SharePoint Solution Store. Then it is deployed. Now we'll go to a client and access our SharePoint site through Internet Explorer. Since I installed the web part under an administrator ID on the server, I need to activate the Spread for SharePoint solution for this user ID. I bring up my site settings and look in the web part gallery to verify the web part is not there. To make the web part available, I will go back to Site Collection Features and activate the feature. Now go back to the web part gallery and verify that the web part is available. Here we see Spread for SharePoint. Now we'll create a shared web part page. And we'll name the page Spread. And choose to add a web part. We'll scroll down through the list looking for data binding web parts, and we find Spread for SharePoint. We select that and add it to the sheet. Here we see the welcome image for Spread for SharePoint. We select to open the tool pane to enter into the SharePoint page edit mode, where we access the tool pane and set up the binding and display properties for the web part. I will first bind to a SharePoint list. Check the SharePoint list radio button in the tool pane to specify lists as the data source, and press the Bind to List button. Select a list from the dialog. I will choose the products list that I created by uploading the products table from the Northwinds database. Apply the settings, and you see the SharePoint list displayed on your page in full binding mode. Next, I will show you how to bind Spread for SharePoint to a SQL Server data table. First, check the SQL Server radio button to specify that we want to bind to the SQL Server table. Notice that the tool pane controls change to reflect the different binding type. Enter the server name and database name. You can use either Windows authentication or SQL Server authentication. Now connect to the server. The web part queries the SQL tables and views from the database and allows you to select the table or view you wish to bind to. I will choose the orders table. Here you see the data columns of the table. From here you can choose which columns to display in the web part and which view column to display each table column in. To provide a complete read-write data binding experience, Spread for SharePoint must provide a mechanism to write changes back to the database. This is achieved by generating the SQL CRUD commands that are invoked when needed by the web part to create, update, and delete data from the database. Press the Auto Generate button, and you see the generated SQL commands. Each command is editable to allow for any customizations and to allow SQL view changes to be made directly to the appropriate SQL base table. Apply these changes to the web part, and you see Spread for SharePoint is now bound to the orders table of the Northwind SQL database. Exit Edit Mode, and now you see the web part as your customers will see it. You've seen how to bind to different data sources using Spread for SharePoint. But using Spread for SharePoint, you can also apply a rich set of styles and formatting to your data to provide your users with a more interesting and engaging experience. You can also perform basic data analysis through filtering and conditional formatting. This video has hopefully answered any basic questions you have about the product and helped guide you through the installation and use of Spread for SharePoint. Thank you for attending this video session of Farpoint Station.